Samupe, Sampadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Oh, and you pumpuma, Asam pumpuma.
They are four women. They are beautiful with brains. They are eloquent, decent, wise, and experienced. You have heard many. The funny. Now, it's time to hear the experience and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the real in common getting. In common BISS chain, the as in Takrenu assume the real in common getting. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the real in common getting ya. What brabon tete, we nyan konkonsa, we the real in common getting.
Hello, good evening, Era One Radio listeners and viewers all over the globe. It is 6:03 Eastern Time in the US. It might be morning for you somewhere in Australia. And if you are in Ghana, it's about 11:03. And wherever city or state or country you are in, you can make your conversion. Well, it's another edition of the Divine Connection Show. This is Tuesday, the 16th day of December, 2025. Well, we have a few days to Christmas, and then we'll say goodbye to the year 2025. It still looks as fresh as it came. Tonight, we are discussing a very fresh and new topic as we move into the Yuletide, into the Christmas. We want to look at this topic that is very, very crucial. I call it somebody who was punished for his lack of belief. If you make a comparative study between this man, Zachariah, and Mary, realize that one was, in quotes, punished and the other was spared. Tonight, we're going to find out how this happened and whether the other was justified. Of course, I'm here with Dr. Robert Akron. He's in the studio to help us make a good sense of this discussion. Well, if you want to join us, the number to call is 240-280-2633. And if you want to text, it's 510-9310946. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and also on Modern Ghana Radio. All right, tonight we are looking at the topic that I just mentioned, punished for his disbelief or lack of faith, or whatever you want to call it. I believe Pastor Akon has a different, if he has to caption it differently, he will have a different topic. But anyway, Pastor Akon, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Boison.
All right. So on behalf of my studio manager, Dr. Setutu, and the whole Era One team, I want to invite you to tonight's broadcast. Please join, share your ideas. We all want to learn from each other. So please join in. And of course, go to Facebook, go to YouTube, and share this broadcast with your friends, neighbors, and even as well as your enemies. All right, Pastor Akron, let me start. Let me break the ice and ask this question. In our modern era, can we be punished for disbelief or lack of faith in God? Is that possible?
Yes, but in saying yes, let me actually analogize it, right, in our contemporary setting. Dr. Boison, take two employees. One is a senior vice president, has worked with the company for 30 plus years, knows the track record of the company, the ups and downs. And then take a fresh employee, young, barely 1 year with the company. And then you have a given situation. The vice president doubts the ability of the company to pull off maybe a particular thing. And then the fresh employee expresses optimism. Which of the two would the CEO like to have by his side?
Well, everybody likes optimism.
That is the story we are about to encounter, right? uh, would I say he was Zachariah was punished and Mary was celebrated? I believe the angel sealed Zachariah's mouth so that his unbelief will not spread.
Okay, makes
Right?
sense.
And as we go into the meat of the subject, right? Our we'll have the opportunity to say a lot more. But this is, call it, the scoop of the top of the cake. So let's start cutting the cake to see its innards. And then we can say something more substantive and substantial.
All right, if thou sayest so, we'll do so. All right, so as we celebration of the birth of the Messiah, Jesus Christ will be reflecting on events that preempted his birth. The promise of the
Mm.
birth of Jesus was pronounced in the Garden of Eden alongside the curses that the snake, Adam, and Eve received on that day. They were promised that out of the disobeying woman would come a Messiah that will bruise the head of the deceiver and all that. You can read that in Genesis chapter 3, verses 14 to 15. So we are going to look at the scripture. Actually, I wanted to take it from Luke chapter 1, verse 5 through, but then the 1 to 4 gives us some validation that I want to read quickly, and then I'll go to our main text, and then Pastor Kron will jump in. So Luke chapter 1, reading from 1 through, this is the King James Version. Luke says, "For as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed amongst us, even as they believed them, they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus, that thou mightest know the certainty of those things wherein thou hast been instructed." 5. There was in the days of Herod the king of Judea a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abia, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. And they had no child, because that Elizabeth was barren, and they both were now well stricken in years. And it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before God in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Lord. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, "Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb." 16. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. And Zacharias said unto the angel, "Where shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years." And the angel answering said unto him, "I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad things. And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. And the people waited for Zacharias and marveled that he tarried so long in the temple. 22. And when he came out, he could not speak unto them. And they perceived that he had seen a vision in the temple, for he beckoned unto them and remained speechless. This is the word of the Lord. We'll stop here and we'll go into it later. All right, Pastor Crown, that was a very interesting scripture. Now, Luke tells us about the validity of what he wrote. So he mentioned a certain man, whether he was a ruler, king, or whatever, excellent Theophilus. Who was that man?
Honestly, nobody has been able to identify who that man was. But the consensus is that the name Theophilus means lover of God. Theo, the Greek word for God, and Philo, lover, right? So, lover of God. So, Luke was written probably to all Christians because a lover of God will stand for a typical Christian. But it's possible that there was a Roman or a Greek official or somebody, at least the name is Greek, right? So the likelihood that that person will be Greek was high, although some Jews also bore Greek names, right? So, but most likely, this person, if he was indeed a person and not a general term for lovers of the gospel, which would be Christians, then what we could say that Luke was addressing the entirety of Christianity to believe what he has uttered.
All right. Thank you. Well, we'll take all these preliminary questions from there before we get into the meat of it. All right. And so in verse 2, Luke says both were righteous before God. What does that mean? Can anyone be blameless before God? Do we have?
Uh, according to Luke, this will be in verse 6, right?
Yes.
And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. Wow! Blameless. Walking in all the commandments and being righteous before God. Dr. Boison, these descriptions would actually prove fatal, right? And I'm using that advisedly because if such claims could be made about somebody who also happened to be a priest, who happened to come from the line of priests, from the family of priests, and would doubt the words of an angel, that becomes something else. Right? And so when you take the totality of these descriptions and the person involved, Luke was setting up a scenario for us to understand the gravity of, should I say, I wouldn't want to use the word fall, but rather the unfortunate fate of Zachariah, right? And therefore, he shouldn't be held as an example for us, at least, considering what he did at that moment. But all the accolades, about the attributes are desirable. But what he did on this occasion, nobody should repeat it.
So I believe it's something like what I call asking. Let me see. I think I put in the footnotes. What did I say? Asking the wrong question at the right time, sort of, because he could have rephrased these very questions that he asked the angel, and he would have gone scot free. Because as later we would realize when we get to the Mary story, she almost has almost the same story, but in a different tonation, or maybe her use of diction words that were a little bit different. But if you look at the two, they almost meant the same thing. It goes to the same endpoint, just that the indicators and initial points were a little bit different. And like you rightly said, this is a man who comes from the lineage of priests, uh, he should know better. He was old enough. I don't know how many times he had encountered an angel before. Maybe that was the first time. So he was overwhelmed. And sometimes when we get overwhelmed, we say, excuse me, stupid things, or we ask stupid questions. And so he said, hey, Gabriel, come on, look at me. I'm a septuagenarian or 70, 80, thereabout. And look at me. At this time, you're telling me I'm going to have a child. How can I be sure? Maybe Mary said, how would this be since I'm a virgin? But he said, how can I be sure? And I think that ticked off Gabriel to say, what do you mean, boy? You are a priest. You are leading to God. You are in the chamber here praying on behalf of people. And I'm telling you something and you are doubting me. Somebody would have cut Zacharias like a little bit. But like you rightly said,
Not about it. Look at it this way. What was John doing? What was Zacharias doing in the temple? He was burning incense, literally performing a ritual, right? But that actually is something to pay attention to, because what he did will represent Israel. Going through the ritual, the motion, without the sort of act that produces results. Because John and Zacharias, you are representing the people before God. Isn't it amazing, Dr. Boison? Because we'll come to Mary's story soon. And that's the essence of what we are doing, right? Comparing Mary, why Zacharias went dumb, and Mary actually went celebratory. What could one say about that? Let me even segue into that. Mary, the angel appeared to her in her home in a marginal town called Nazareth. That was when somebody, Nathaniel, told Andrew that they had found the Messiah. You know the question Andrew asked? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? This was where Mary was, in her home, in a not so good a place called Nazareth.
So in this, let me just a little bit of digression. From what Nathaniel said, if Gabriel was there, what would Nathaniel become? A shrimp?
We don't know.
or Kelewele.
Dr. Boison. So look at the contrast. Mary was just a young lady in an insignificant town, in her own home.
House.
The angel came there and she believed. The angel came to Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Think about the two places. Marginal town versus the cream of the crop city. Creme a la creme city. And the temple, the crowning jewel of all Jewish spirituality. That is where the angel came to Zachariah in the temple in Jerusalem. What was he doing? Burning incense, the very physical thing that attracts the
Trust God.
presence. And you doubt on this occasion, what were you doing? What were you expecting? Are you getting the picture clear?
Yeah, I understand, but what is that when you get to a certain situation for so long, and you become so accustomed to, adapted to, even if you're a Christian, some things might go over your head. For instance, let me just use a typical example. Right now,
Mm,
if
mhm,
Sister K is going through Maryland Street and
mm,
she randomly meets somebody who tells her, "Oh, Sister K, it looks as if after 3 children, you need to have one more. There's one more that you were supposed to have, and that
mm,
must come." What will Q
mm.
say?
Of course, I have passed menopause.
Oh, yes, okay.
Right. My husband, I don't know about him.
After eating all the cake, you don't know. But you are still younger than
No,
Zacharias.
what I mean by uh, is Robert Akron prepared to go through the
Changing diapers,
rituals and whatever of a father
changing diapers.
nursing a young baby with changing diapers and what have you is sweet. No. I don't know about it. And besides, maybe I don't want it. You
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
me?
Mary's case was a little bit, I mean, I would say simpler because you are looking at the polar ends. Somebody who is really, really over age and somebody who is younger. And both of them were still, asking how. So when you look at Mary's, situation, well, we can say, okay, you are young and all things are possible. But Zachariah, I mean, at that time, I don't even know we had any more eggs in a fallopian tube. That was just,
No,
gone.
no, no.
God had to
But you
remanufacture
see,
everything.
Dr. Boyson, the two the two questions may seem like but upon deeper analysis, you realize that they were attacking Mary was Mary's argument was based on a different premise, whereas Zacharias was based on another premise. So when we get there, we'll look at we'll compare the two questions and look at the premise behind each. Premise or premise
All right.
behind each.
All right, let me ask a question.
Okay.
So we just talked about Zachariah being a righteous man, one that was blameless before God and all that. So can one be all of this and still suffer from lack of child or need? I mean, and what could be the reason?
Yeah. But the Luke gave the reason. The reason is there. Elizabeth was barren.
Yeah, I mean, why was he barren? I mean, like, I know
Okay, that
it's a
also speaks.
biological issue. I mean, does it have to relate to the fact
Yeah.
that God was timing the birth of Jesus to coincide with her, and so he had to make a barren to all these years?
Dr. Boyce, this is in fact Elizabeth's situation, and maybe the Elizabeth Zachariah family situation is representative of our contemporary world, right?
In that.
Being religious without being productive.
Hmm. That's another thing. Hmm.
That's Africa. Who prays more than us? Who prays more than us? Who takes the things of God more seriously than us? Who is less productive than Africa of all the continents? So, Dr. Boyson, being
So
religious,
this thing, hold on a minute. This thing that you brought up. So in Elizabeth's case, we are not told that God closed her womb compared to Hannah.
Yeah. She was barren. Period.
And you say you could be religious and not be fruitful,
No, I mean,
unproductive.
if you look at the description, they walked in all the statutes, they walked in all the commandments, they were righteous before God. They walked in the statutes, they walked in the commandments, blameless. They were righteous before God, yet they were unproductive.
And wasn't it God's duty to honor them for being faithful and blameless?
Who actually said that God owes anybody a duty to grant children? Who said so? The Bible said children are a gift from God. If you don't deserve it, He doesn't give you. Think about it. I know it can be jarring, almost leading to cognitive dissonance here. But this Bible, Luke is hinting at something deeper. And as I said, Dr. Boison, being spiritual is not the same as being effective or efficient. Are you getting the picture clear?
I'm getting you, but my mind is going on
Yeah,
polar
yeah,
ends
yeah.
where
Again,
maybe God for some reason holds it, or our own spirituality we are not productive because we are not putting into measures what we need to do. Those are two different things. So it's like
yeah, yeah.
we have to know where we lie. Where
Luke
actually.
hasn't explained it, but we are looking at the facts, right? Luke has given us their spiritual bona fides. But when it comes to the fruit of marriage, they have nothing to show. And I'm saying this is analogous to Africa representing the spirituality of the earth. And yet, when it comes to development, it has nothing to offer.
That's deep.
Right? And Dr. Boyson, think about it. When the angel brings this news, which actually will be new facts, which could be converted into new knowledge, he doubted it. Asking about knowledge, he wanted to be sure of the knowledge of the angel, attacking the message because of the messenger.
And he had been praying too. So what was he actually praying for? I mean, if he prayed
That
without.
is why I told you that if you take the certain temple, Jerusalem,
Incense.
what occasion? What was he doing? He was burning incense, ritual. So this whole scenario, what was his expectation?
I believe at that point he had given up. I'm sure. I don't think he was even praying for a child anymore at that time.
Actually, that's the point. And that's why this is a very interesting text. What did the angel say? The angel first said, your prayer is heard. Let's read that carefully. Your prayer is heard, and your wife, Elizabeth, the second indictment, right? He says, according to the and according to the custom, and then let me read the. But verse 13, but the angel said unto him, fear not, Zacharias, for your prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear a son. Now, Dr. Boyson, look at the context. Your prayer is heard. The next thing, your wife Elizabeth shall conceive a son, which is to say that the angel was telling Zacharias about this around this time, that you prayed this prayer
Longest.
maybe 20 years ago, but because there was no physical manifestation, you thought God had forgotten about it. But Zacharias, your prayer was heard the moment you prayed it. And this is the answer.
The manifestation.
So you see, when you analyze it in light of his religious bona fides, right, he should have understood what was happening.
Exactly. And
One
I
thing
think
he
the
failed,
angel even gave him clues. The angel gave him clues not to even doubt because he started by bringing the fact that you prayed. Didn't you
yeah,
pray? You prayed and
yeah,
it's been heard.
yeah,
And
and it's
now,
been now the answer. So Zacharias should understand, looking at his age, that life is about process. And the fact that you don't get an immediate answer does not mean denial.
but the thing, Cheo, I mean, look at that age.
You
I don't
see,
know.
again, that's this is Luke trying to tell us about the ways of God. When God speaks, he has the ability to stall nature for his word to be performed. And the priest should have known better than anybody, because his vocation was about being in the presence of God.
And believing.
Other people, not so much. So if you, whose bread is buttered by your being in the presence of God, if you can't get this, who else can get that?
And how do you lead people in there?
You understand? But you see, the bigger story is that Zacharias represented the state of Israel at this time, going through the motion without the heart that should accompany the movement. So this was an indictment, right? If you now go back to the bona fides Luke has given us, it seems like these people were the laws. It was about law and not faith.
So they had so much
Ah,
been obeying Lord and forgotten about the letter of it. I mean, the spirit behind it.
now you are getting where Luke is going with this. They followed the statutes, the commandments, very legalistic. But where faith is concerned, he was lacking. So, what was his problem? Nature speaks louder than spirituality.
Hmm.
Are you now getting the point there? Because this is what he said. Hey, angel, you know why you are not believable? Look at my age. And if maybe you haven't done due diligence, my wife is as old as me.
At least there's hope for the man, not the woman whose eggs are all gone.
Right? Don't are you getting the picture clear? He said, my wife is also old.
And he was very polite. He used a very fancy phrase. Well
Yes.
speaking.
So, angel, keep your word to yourself. Don't come and I know too much about this life for you to come and bamboozle me with words. Are you not getting the picture clear? And so this speaks to Christianity of today, where it's all about the outwards. not the inwards.
But Pastor Akwan, can I draw your mind to, I think it's in Proverbs, I don't remember the actual verse, but it says about hope deferred. Hope deferred is something to the
Makes the
heart.
heart
If you
sick.
sick, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Don't you think that has been a series, a length of time that has caused Zechariah's hope to be fed so much that now he doesn't even, I'm sure even, I don't know who else will come and stand before him to believe. Even if God himself came, I don't know whether he would have behaved the same way. And the question is, did he believe him? He later realized that the man giving the information was an angel. So that he was believable. But he looked too much into his situation. Instead of receiving the new knowledge and moving with it, he just stuck with the study school. I have done this for years. I have given up. I will just stand before the people and burn incense and go home with my wife and eat my kenke and fish and come back and follow the same thing routine day after day
Yeah.
without even cutting a little bit space that, you know what, the law is not, because in Israel they had kept the law so much that when Jesus came and he said the Sabbath meant something different, they had no understanding. And they actually got angry because we have kept the Sabbath, we honor God, and you are saying you want to work on the Sabbath when it's supposed to be a day of rest. They didn't even understand the day of rest.
I
So
mean,
sometimes
lack
when we
of
are
faith.
so used to something for too long, you become so accustomed that now you are set in your ways.
Dr. Boyson, that is very true. That's the call it the reality of being human, right? But if you are, I mean, let me give you an example, Dr. Boyson. I have a legal background, right? Call me, I'm a lawyer, right? I don't practice, but I'm a lawyer. If I do something and I go to court and somebody else comes to the same court with the same charge, right? The exact same thing I may have done. If the judge gets to know that I'm a lawyer, he will punish me more than the other person. Why?
You should have known better.
Because I'm supposed to know better. Are you getting the picture clear? So if Zacharias, you are a priest from a priestly family, you burn the incense. The people are outside the temple. You are inside the temple. And you come up short this way, almost unforgivable. Are you getting me? Are
Well,
you getting it?
to
So
err is
look,
human.
as I said, we made this point that now when you look at this and you go back and look at the bona fides, that they were righteous before God, they walked in all the statutes and the commandments and the ordinances of God blameless. It means now they were just being legalistic. But where it comes to the exercise of faith, where the physical evidence may be there, but it is irrelevant, he was lacking. Because what is the nature of faith? Right? Yes, nature involves knowledge, but it also includes the ability to look at the evidence and believe in a result despite the evidence. That is faith. And he failed. So I can literally now say that his brand of spirituality was result oriented, which is to say, if X plus Y must give you Z, and you have X, but you don't have Y, you will not get Z, period. That is what Zacharias' behavior can be reduced to. So let's now look. I told you earlier, Dr. Boison, that we can reduce this to a conditional argument, what we call default argument or default logic. Conditional argument, if we reduce Zacharias' question to conditional argument, it says if X, then Y. If I am youthful and my wife is youthful, then we can have a child. To be very practical, this is what we call modus ponens, right? I am not youthful.
Neither my wife.
My wife is not youthful. Therefore,
It cannot be.
there cannot be Y. Mary, on the other hand, is an interesting thing, Dr. Boison. She said, I don't have it in myself to pull this off. Because she said, I don't know a man. Are you not getting the picture clear? It is out of my hands. If it will happen, somebody else must make it happen. Zacharias, on the other hand, said, I and my wife can make it happen, but we can't make it happen, so it will not happen. Are you getting the qualitative difference?
Yeah, I mean, said both of us, we are legally married, so it should happen, but it's not going to happen.
But Dr. Boison, what the angel and what Mary's example from this would compel us to ask is this. In the case of Zacharias, they still must follow the natural process. But the natural process has given us its track record that for childbirth, the woman must be of age and the man must be of age. So far, that's what nature has told us.
But where you can get a man who is 100 and a lady who is
Yes,
40, 50,
but
and it will still happen. I think both of them are in the zone.
Because you see, that's why the angel first said, your wife shall conceive. Because don't forget, Luke has told us the wife was the problem, not Zacharias.
Okay.
Are you getting the subtle nature of this argument? We've been told the one who was barren was what?
Your wife.
Wife. Zacharias, therefore, walking in all the statutes of this thing means he hasn't gone behind his wife.
He didn't have any side chick. That we know.
You're getting me. So,
but you know what, Pastor? If Sarah had remembered the story of Elizabeth, if she had remembered the story of her great grandmother Sarah, I'm sure she would have offered the same thing for Zachariah. Say, this
No,
thing
no, but
happened.
Sarah, I mean, Elizabeth had not even featured in this. She hadn't doubted anything. It was the husband who was capable, who was now acting on their behalf.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, I mean, if you go back to the Sarah and Abraham story, I mean, if
Mhm.
history were to repeat itself,
But
Elizabeth would have said the same thing.
who should have known that story? Or I mean, you have Hannah and Samuel, and Hannah and the husband Elkanah.
Kinda, yeah.
You have Sarah and Abraham. You have Samson's mother and father, right? Who will be of the two? Who will be in a better position to have read these accounts?
I mean, Zachariah, of course, who is a priest and he
Of
should have
course.
known
So
better. Yeah,
if these examples in the Bible couldn't persuade you about the possibility of God stepping into nature and still making what nature has determined should not happen, right? What the angel told Zacharias is that, listen, God is not limited by the edicts of nature.
but
God can bypass nature.
that's true. But Pastor Akwa, Angel Gabriel, don't be angry with me. But I'm sure
No,
that
no, go
on
ahead.
that day, I think Angel Gabriel was too short-tempered, because what I perceived was that it looks as if Zachariah was asking for a little bit more evidence. Angel, I'm not doubting you, but look at my condition, look at my situation, my natural condition. Look, I mean, don't even talk about my wife. Look at the situation
Mm,
we be in. So I'm not doubting you. I'm a little bit in a shock. So tell me more, just take me more and tell me, how can I be sure? Of course, Gabriel took it, okay, you were doubting me after telling you that your prayer has been heard, your wife, who is a problem, will conceive. What more
mm.
evidence do you want? But I believe Zachariah, I wouldn't say he was totally, you know, doubting. But maybe he wanted a little more evidential substance.
I agree. But you see, you and I are here because our platform says we don't only go the spiritual, we also go the intellectual.
That's
Because
true.
look at the text. What question did Zacharias ask? He said, whereby shall I know? The angel says, you did not believe me. Knowledge and belief.
Oh Lord, Zachariah, you were in for a bad day.
You getting me? So
Hmm.
again, back to where we started. This was a faith issue, and it came up short.
The
So
thing
the question becomes, Zachariah, what has your training taught you about God?
You've been studying all this time. When the exam came, you failed. You've been going
Yeah,
all night studying, placing your feet in water, all this coffee, and when the day of reckoning came, you failed. You bombed the exam.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You see, so Luke has written this narrative in such a way that careful reading will actually bring out some interesting, right, nuanced writing to the fore. That Zacharias, being representative of Israel at the time, which will be the church at the time, should not be the model for the church of the now.
Hmm.
The church of the now must be faith oriented, even whilst paying attention to the physical realities or the physical evidence. Believing and knowing that God is able to transcend nature, to step into nature and stop nature's processes. So his will can happen or can come to pass. This is the fundamental doctrine of our faith.
But Pastor Kwan, you also know the Bible also says in Hebrews that many of these people believed and trusted God for breakthroughs that they never received and died.
Yes, nobody is disputing that. But what prevents you from believing that you are the exception? If God did it for Abraham at age 86 and did it for Sarah at age 90, if God did it for Rachel, if God did it for Isaac, if God did it for Sarah and for Hannah and Elkanah, for Samson and his father Manoah, you who are supposed to be steeped in these narratives, if you can't believe this, who will believe it? So his mouth being shut was to prevent his mouth infecting the body with unbelief.
Well,
So yes, it's hard, but that is the brutal truth. That the reason we go to church, the reason we fast, the reason we do the all nights and what have you, if we don't exercise the faith that comes or that is required, then everything we are doing is nothing but rituals. And it won't please God at all.
but Pastor Kwan, would you say that everybody who believed God for everything got it before? Got it?
Not necessarily. But again, you see, again, let's look at the salutation of the angel with respect to Zacharias. He said, your prayer is heard. Right? Not your prayer was heard, or not your prayer will be heard. Your prayer is heard. But we can make the deduction that at that precise moment, Zacharias was not thinking about children.
That's true. Like I said, he had given up, years ago.
Yes. And this should have reminded him, because the angel started with it before he even made the pronouncement of he birthing a child. He said, your prayer is heard. So for him and his position as the priest of the moment, he should have understood that with God, life is a process. And that when you pray and you don't get immediate results, it does not necessarily translate into denial. It may be delay, but it is never denial. If you die without it happening, then maybe you can call it denial. But as long as you have life, God is able again to step into nature to cause his purposes to come to pass, despite what nature has given us as his track record. So, don't look at your situation, your natural situation, to make eternal judgments about God. God can bypass nature. And so, Dr. Boison, again, when you read the text, the angel said, your wife,
Yes.
Elizabeth, shall do what? Conceive. The problem was with Elizabeth. Why do you insert yourself into the situation? Are you not getting the picture clear? Why insert yourself? It is Elizabeth's problem, and the solution is going to come from there. You do that which you do naturally. and let God do what he does best, surprising us.
Amen. I mean, you can really understand the situation these guys were going through because, especially for Elizabeth, she had a twofold problem because one, she was a woman. And of course, in Israel in those days, a woman's prestige, one of the honor was to have a child. I mean,
Even now, even
even
now,
now, yeah, was to have a
yeah.
child. And especially at that time, they were all expecting the birth of the Messiah. For some reason, they were expecting what Isaiah had said in Isaiah 7:14, Isaiah 9:6. They were expecting the Messiah. So every woman wanted to experience that birth of giving birth to the Messiah child. And so Elizabeth realized that one, I'm a woman, but I can't even give birth to a child, let alone think about giving birth to the Messiah. So my purpose of being a woman has failed. The purpose of giving birth to the Messiah is zero. So for me to
But
realize
why
that,
would anybody think any woman would think they will birth the Messiah? The requirement is you have to be a virgin. And no virgin, no woman, no virgin can give birth. Dr. Wilson, this
well,
test is something. No virgin can give birth. You heard me right.
I did.
A
But it, but
woman,
in,
a
but
virgin,
in our modern days, you are virgin, you can go to IVF and go and pick up the seed.
but
Go buy
sperm
a
will
sperm.
be introduced. Sperm will be introduced, whether
Yeah,
you would like it or not. That actually takes away. So penetration would have to take place, one way or the other.
yeah. But in this
Call
case,
it in vitro. Call it
yeah,
in
in between, you're
vitro
not having a
fertilization.
relation. You are not having a relation
Still,
with a man.
a man's sperm would be introduced into your system.
Yeah, they want the
So,
sperm, but not the process of
yeah, yeah,
coitus or
yeah, yeah.
whatever it is. So
Think about
it's
it.
possible.
The sexual act is just an act. The actual thing that births another human being is the introduction of a sperm.
So
So
in
if
those days, if Mary had known about IVF and all those processes, she wouldn't have even questioned the angel that how is this thing going to be? Because okay, Mary, just go and I will direct you.
no,
Take
no, she
Uber.
still could have asked. She could have asked, because don't forget, if it was going to be the Messiah, then God would be involved.
That's true.
So not just any man, not just any man. So you can't just go for any sperm.
But anyway, we'll have to continue this story next. It's very interesting. We'll go into Mary's aspect next week. But I want us to
Yes,
end
sir.
on this note. You made a very profound statement that a group of people, like, let's take example, Africa, they are very religious and they pray a lot, but there's not much productivity. Can you comment on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, again, look at the bona fides Luke ascribed to them, right? Very glowing spiritual attributes. They were righteous before God. They walked in all the statutes, the commandments, and the ordinances of God blameless. Yet Elizabeth was barren.
But don't you also think that because of their righteousness, God was waiting to give them the best for the last?
I don't want to speculate.
This is no speculation.
No, because the text said she was barren. She was barren. Barren is barren, infertile. Which means you plant a seed there, there is no growth. So it is the type of soil which takes but does not give back. And all that she did by way of prayer and everything, that fact eluded it. And so I'm just taking that to represent an understanding. It's a metaphor for a situation where you do certain things right that should actually help in some other areas. But here you have one area being all right and one another area being all wrong. So it's as if being all that is no guarantee of being all this.
That's true.
So Africa, we pray. Nobody prays half as much as Africa. No big group of people take this word of God, the things of God, half as serious as Africans. Look at even when we are going to church, we want to be in our best. Look at when whites are going to church. They don't care wearing the shirt he wore yesterday. Right? African, we have Sunday dresses. We are going to the presence of
Well,
God.
it shows our reverence for God. That's all.
Yes, but why aren't we producing when it comes to things? I mean, real material blessings, the fruits of the mind. Why are we absent?
Hmm. That's $1 million question.
That's
That
why
is
I said
that is beyond my pay grade
being
for this evening.
spiritually relevant but developmentally irrelevant.
So whose fault?
Nobody's fault, our fault. That is why, Dr. Boyson, you and I, this platform is about combining the fruits of the spirit and the fruits of the mind in tandem. They must work in tandem, and wonders will be performed.
Well, thank you. Dr. Kojiragwe said it rightly. He said, if you want good music, good sound, play both the black and the white keys.
You know what I
You
mean?
can't play only white or only black keys and expect good music. You have to play them in tandem. Thank you very much. Well, on that note, we'll bring our curtains to a close tonight. We'll meet again next week and continue because we have to look at the more detailed aspect of the story and then go into Mary's aspect, how Mary also gave a similar slighted response, but she was considered, in quotes, a child and was let loose. We'll see about that. But I believe tonight we've been able to address the Zacharias aspect because if you know better, you do better. To whom much is given, much is required. He had so much, he had invested so much into incense burning that just by seeing the angel visiting him would have been enough to say, hey, my solution is here. But he wanted more proof. He's just like some of us. We want more proof. Even when we are told that you will prosper or you will make it, we still want more proof. How is the prosperity going to come? How is it going to be? Do I wake up 3 a.m. and go to park and pray, or do I go to work at a normal time and put in my productivity? We'll find out next week. Prof. Nisaba, I know you're getting ready to go and have your dinner of kinke and shon or shrimps or whatever it is.
Leave
So
me alone. Leave me alone.
I know whenever I eat kinke, the anointing come to perform, to go into your closet and come out with new
I'm
revelations.
a
So
gamma.
thank
I'm a
God for
gamma. A
Thank God for
bonafide gam.
making a gun because you say God is a gun. We are still trying to
Yeah,
discover
I
how
told
true
you.
that is.
And the food he eats is skanky. That's
Okay.
why we don't need to pray
God
over
doesn't
food.
God doesn't eat
No,
fermented
no.
food. He doesn't eat fermented
Listen,
food.
there are two things the Gans have. The language God speaks is Gan. So when you pray, God first translates it into Gan. So but when a Gan man prays, it goes straight.
Direct.
And because God eats kinky and we eat kinky, everything about us checks out. That's why it's a privilege to be a Gan.
Okay. We'll go to Bukom and find out what is there and why you are saying that. All right, beloved, on behalf of my studio manager, Dr. Setutu, and the Rawam team, thank you very much, Dr. Akron, for all the insight. We'll meet again next week. We are in the Christmas season. Enjoy all the Christmas carols and be good. Love each other. Love your neighbor. If we love ourselves just like we love other people or vice versa, nobody will be taking a gun to go to Brown University and then killing two people and injuring a lot of them. This country has so much work to do. we are still in serious problems. The gun issues haven't gone away. Let's keep praying that God will hear us. Let's bring back God into our schools and into our life because this thing must cease. Well, on that note, Prof, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Say hi to the family, and I'll meet you here same time next week. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Bye.
Sampa dietia Chima fidi non kotu Era one radio Samupe Jumpa dietia Chima fidi non kotu Era one radio